Yo, y'all know who y'all rocking with. It's your boy Rocky, that dark skin one. And it's time for us to tap into another episode of New York Stompers. Talk to me nice, or you might not get to talk to me twice. You know the vibes. How my people's doing out there, man? How my SIGs doing out there, man? How my real rights doing out there, man? How my 550s doing out there, man? Y'all know the vibes. We gotta do our little roll call to see who's on the check-in. For those of y'all who's in attendance, I pray by the time this video reaches viewers, it find y'all in the best health mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and all the above. They say sometimes we gotta pray for each other because we all we got. But where I come from, they say gangsters don't die. They get chubby and get on YouTube. You heard me? Nah, man, how everybody doing? This is Thursday afternoon, 1:18 in the afternoon. How everybody doing? I don't know if y'all watching me on y'all break, if y'all watching me while y'all working, if y'all got the day off, if y'all chillaxing, vacation, wherever y'all watching me from, I need y'all to smash that like button. If you ain't subscribed, I need you to subscribe to the channel to get all the exclusive perks. Members only video. A lot of the times y'all not catching the exclusives because y'all are not members. I need y'all to hold it down and hit that member only button. Y'all gonna see it right by the subscribe button. And tune in with your boy, you heard? Give your boy a chance. I ain't gonna lie, we been going up and it's been a blessing. For those of y'all that been with me since day one, I appreciate y'all. Y'all know the vibes. We ain't changed since we started this, you heard? No matter if I had 1 view or 11K, we still in this, you heard? Y'all see that thumbnail? Y'all see that title? It's time to tap in. Okay, gang, we back spinning those Brooklyn blocks again. Cypress Hills projects to be exact. Tonight we getting into the story of Jesus Valentine, a.k.a. Puerto Rican Jesus, a.k.a. Mr. Get 'em Going. Born in 1964 on December the 24th, we can see why his grandmother, who was a very religious person, would name him after the biblical salvation. To us, it's just a name, but to those that actually knew him, they would have to question God if he was truly the Christ by the way he looked out for his people. Jesus would be the oldest out of 5 kids, and all of his siblings would look up to him for guidance and direction. Jesus was a normal kid for most of his childhood, but when his parents moved to Southern Ave in East New York, that's when he became the man. He would climb the ranks from a regular street kid to a mover and shaker. And this time he was in his mid-teens. Puerto Rican Jesus would get into the dope game and instantly strike gold. Growing up in the 70s and 80s meant you was real familiar with the dope trade and its effects it had on the ghetto. Jesus would see the carnage but make a promise to his grandmother that he would not let their blood sink like the rest. When it comes to East New York, Puerto Ricans have been migrating to the east since the mid-19th century, when Puerto Rico was still a Spanish colony. When the island was ceded to the United States, Puerto Ricans became citizens of the American possession. After laws was put in place to keep them down, a lot of them turned to drugs, especially at the time of the dope trade. And still to this day, areas like East New York still haven't recovered. Jesus would roll with the 18, being that they all was from East New York. He was staying side by side with some of the biggest names coming out of Brooklyn, like One Arm Monk, Can Do, and his brother Delson, and even held it down with Dementio for a minute, and rumored to be best friends with the boxing champ Mike Tyson. They said Mike Tyson was fond of Jesus because he always dressed nice and came with his own money, while other hustlers usually ended the night asking Mike to hold a few thousand. Jesus wouldn't even have it like that. The picking spot would turn Jesus into a millionaire in less than a year. A lot of people thought that somebody put Jesus on, but when he was young, he would go on a bike ride against his Uncle Charlie orders and get messed up pretty bad by a driver that blindsided him. The cops would bring an injured Jesus home instead of stopping at the much-needed hospital as they passed on the way there. For those actions, Jesus had grounds for a lawsuit, and when he turned 18, he would get a big lump sum of money from the city and invest in his hustle. Jesus would put together a crew and having them working picking and logging around the clock. It was rumored that he was doing 120,000 every day in that spot. An 18-year-old bringing in that type of money, it was only one place a person could go, and that was up. When Jesus opened that spot, he would do it with his cousin Billy, aka Bill Blast, being the muscle. At this time, New York City was crawling with teenage kingpins who was doing their thing in the streets, and so Jesus definitely was doing his thing. But it didn't go down without a few bumps or drug wars. The 80s would be the start of the local gangs that was beefing over numbers and territories. But every time things is going too good, you could expect them to go bad. On this night, Jesus was gambling outside in Brooklyn at a dice game. Jesus would leave that dice game with 3 war wounds, but still have his life and rep intact. While most of the game was played shoot first and ask questions later, Jesus tried to run his operation a little more smoothly. He knew he would eventually have to feed the wolves before they would try and turn him into the mill. Puerto Rican Jesus would play the game like a true Casanova, keeping at least 2 shooters by his side and usually a pretty girl on his arm that was willing to roll up her sleeves and get dirty if she needed to. Having a gambling problem, Jesus would start to frequent underground gambling spots that other kingpins would be at too. A lot of these spots would be uptown in Harlem, where Jesus would meet and get cool with AZ, another young kingpin that was doing his thing up from uptown at the time. Jesus and AZ would become close friends who met up every Saturday morning to play basketball. At their last basketball meetup, a car full of shooters would pull up to the courts that they was playing in. The one who seemed to be in charge would walk off to the side with Jesus. After a few words, the 4 would jump back in their car and sped off. Who was those niggas? AZ would ask Jesus. They came to murder you, eh? Jesus would reply, murder me? For what? AZ looked surprised. He said your man killed Demencio in DC. My man, Alpo. Jesus would save AZ life that day. That wasn't the first time Jesus would have to step in and save one of his associates from another. Everybody seemed to like Jesus because he would stand up and his word was his bond. If he told you something, that's what it was with Jesus. His word and his name meant everything to him. Even the wolves would show a certain respect for Jesus, as it was rumored that Jesus had an NYPD sergeant on the payroll. And this sergeant would tip him off to raids and even use his badge to get Jesus and his entourage weapons through at any event he needed. But it wasn't all wins for Jesus neither. After he got shot a second time at a dice game in Harlem, even though his shooters would go gun to gun with the opposites, Jesus would take 2 slugs around this time. Things was heating up in the streets, and a bloodthirsty threat would be waiting to catch Jesus down so he could strike. While Jesus was shot up, he would still try to hold down all his street dealings until a John Bloody Hatchet would run down with some goons and take one of Jesus' most profitable spots. Jesus was so connected that he could have easily sent the kill squad a Hatchet, but he didn't. Against all the rumors in his ears, he would let the spot go and focus on his other business dealings. At this time, Jesus would start cleaning his dirty money through a few legal ventures that he would get into. One of his most notable ventures was a store he had up in Harlem on 138th Street. It was a sneaker/jewelry store that would be freaking by Mike Tyson and other big names on a regular. To show that he wasn't losing any sleep over the spot that Hatchet took, Jesus would shoot to Rucker Park on one of the hottest days in the summer and shut it down. The year would be 94, and there wasn't much steppers that was free or even alive at this time. I believe this was when the money dried up in New York because a lot of big dogs would be forced to give up the game in one way or another. Saturday afternoon, and the championship game in Rucker Park was about to go down. The bleachers would be filled to capacity, as well as the streets surrounding Rucker Park. It was now the time of the rappers that had success in music, but wanted the hood to respect the realness in them, that they would make them come to these games to enjoy the vibe with the people. On this particular day, outside of Rucker looked like a foreign car show. It was all kind of spaceships out there. Puff Daddy, the owner of Bad Boy Records, would even be in attendance. He would pull up in an all-black 500 Benz, repping for Harlem. But it would be Puerto Rican Jesus that stole the show. Floating through Harlem in the new all-white 600 Benz, Jesus would make the richest hustlers break their neck because the car wasn't supposed to be in the street until a year later. Acknowledging all rumors of him getting soft or old, Jesus would pull up to Rucker Park by himself. No goons, no girls. Just Jesus with a neck full of jewelry and a semi-automatic on his waist. Jesus would catch a one-up on Puff this day, letting a young Sean Combs know that he was going to have to sell a lot of records before he could lap the OGs in the game. You can hit the YouTube page L Famous Boogie Down G for real for more stories on Puerto Rican Jesus. Jesus would have a run like no other. He would have spots in DC and Baltimore back when they was getting rid of New York cats that showed up in their town. Unlike all the other gangsters we seen on this channel, Jesus would die of health problems, not rotting in the cell or a bullet to the back of the head. Jesus actually went out like a true stomper. He died being a legit businessman, and that is how you truly take the bad and turn it into good. Us here on Bite TV, we would like to say rest in peace to Puerto Rican Jesus, man. One of Brooklyn Kings. For more stories, this was just a profile piece. For more stories on Puerto Rican Jesus, definitely type his name in YouTube. There's so much out there, man. There's so many stories that people got about Puerto Rican Jesus that I didn't, add into my video just because it's other people content, But Puerto Rican Jesus, he was one of those kings, man. A lot of people think just because you got your spot took in that you was soft or you wasn't stomping right. Nah, sometimes spots wasn't even worth it to go to war. You understand? And so you play chess, not checkers. You heard? Only men, only little boys make moves off of emotions. Kings, they think strategically. You feel me? Well, y'all know the vibes. It's your boy, the dark-skinned one. That's our video for today. Rest in peace to Puerto Rican Jesus, man. Catch up with his son, D Nice. Y'all know what it is. It's Bite TV, and we out of here.